Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf, Season 1, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're picking up after last episode where Kazuhiko is Kazuhiro. I'm getting the name wrong because it's Kazuhiro, but it's Kazuhiho. Is showing Marie around Japan, showing her like the sakura blossoms and everything, and obviously she's enjoying everything. But obviously the question then becomes like, well, if she goes back, because they're theorizing because he brought her to Japan, she could go back to her world. But it's also the thing of, yeah, but if she can, he's like, you could always live with me, and he just says it so casually, you know. Because he also appreciates this whole situation, because for him, it's like if he had never brought her to Japan, he would have never gotten an opportunity to, like, I think he was on friendly terms with her. I think maybe on some level he liked her. But once again, he thought it was a dream. But now knowing like, oh, you really are a person and I get to see more of your personality. Like I get to also showcase, like I think they probably ran into each other from time to time, but they definitely have gotten closer now when he's able to kind of showcase all this and get to, see her when she's eating this stuff and fascinated by this world, like the bath, she's just like, oh my god, like it's just like, have you learned some kind of particular magic? It's like, no, this is just how it is. Yet when he shows off a flashlight, she's kind of not amused at all. He's like, oh, I thought you'd flip out a little bit more. She's like, I've become a little more accustomed to the civilization. It's like you were just flipping out about the bath, but now the flashlight means absolutely nothing to you, which I think is kind of funny. But we learned some really, really interesting things. For example, like there seem to be restrictions. I would have never thought about it. It never even crossed my mind to think this, but there are restrictions on what Hiro can bring with him into that world. He can bring food and drinks, but he's like, no, because at first he's trying to bring stuff with him that Marie's like, oh, could it be that it could only be technological stuff from this world can't go to that world? But he's like, no, even like analog stuff as simple as me trying to bring a pen and a notepad, like none of that goes through either. So she starts thinking that there's got to be a reason why this is happening, because he's never talked to anyone about it because he's thought it was a dream. So this is the first time he's ever really openly talked to another person about it. And so from Marie's perspective, it's like, well, this has to have happened for a reason. Maybe you were given a mission. And at first he was like, to bring lunch boxes to your world. And she's like, maybe it's not about, she's like, let's forget about the lunch boxes for a second. But I think that is a key thing to think about. The fact is that lunch boxes and drinks are the only thing he can, because I was wondering, because I was like, this is, I think, once again, considered like at least a major genre for it is cooking. So obviously it is a major theme through this. So I'm curious, like, are we going to find some great god of Marie's world decided to, like, choose, like, why Kazu Hiro in particular? Because once again, he even says, like, I don't remember, like, the situation. And she's just like, I went to sleep one day and ended up in that world. He's just like, I've been going to that world for so long in my dreams that it's like, I don't know, like, is there anything in particular that, like, set that in motion? So there's going to be this interesting mystery. I mean, it's probably not going to be the major through line, but it will be this background element of understanding how Kazuhiro got to where he is, and like what potentially this mission could be about, who could be responsible for all of this. They've also got to think about something they weren't really thinking about at the time was, well, when they go back to sleep, they're going to be back in the dragon's den. So it's like, okay, how do we deal with that situation? So they start running through strategies. It's like, well, we could, hold the bit like the dragon as hostage, but Marie's like, yeah, if we do that, like that could cause even more issues because now the dragon could follow us and cause way more damage trying to get its egg. So it's like, and then, Kazuhiro kind of thinks like, right, if I go to sleep and die again and wake up, I'd probably not be able to go to sleep ever again because I'd probably pop back in there. The dragon immediately kill me. I'd wake up again. So it just kind of be like an endless cycle of just like, yeah, torment. So, but we learned a little bit more about dragons in her world, that their scales are extremely valuable, because she breaks it down saying that dragons in particular, I don't think it's just this particular, I think maybe dragons in general, that their breath is basically an endless supply of magic. And so she kind of references like there's kind of store, because Kazuhiro is like, oh, tell me a little bit more about the dragon. She's like, I don't think dragons really have personalities or whatever. As we see, that's not the case. But she talks about the fact is there was kind of talks about a dragon who transformed into a human for a few days and then left, even though it came into a human town, not sure for what purpose. And that inspired something in Kazuhiro where he decides to check his refrigerator because it got some, because he's familiar with the town that the dragon went to. But the moment that whole element was introduced of, oh, dragons can make themselves look like humans, I was like, oh, that's the other character that's in the opening and the outro. Because I thought she was a human, but I kept it because some stuff she has a horn, some stuff she doesn't. So maybe in some cases she's able to hide her dragon features. But I was like, oh, that's who that is. That's the arcane dragon in like a human form is. And I was like, interesting. But yeah, because like there's some stuff where you see she clearly doesn't have her horn in some like stuff, especially in the outro. She definitely doesn't have her horn in some points, but other times she does. So it does imply like she does end up in Japan, especially with some of the clothes. But I wonder what those circumstances are. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So now that they've kind of concocted it, well, you know, Kazuhiro's kind of come up with something, it's time to go to sleep, which now it's kind of embarrassing thing where like Kazuhiro was like, yeah, I was so focused on everything. I didn't think about this part where we'd have to snuggle close together. Cause I'm curious, do they need to actually do that? It's kind of a moot point. They do it because they don't know for sure the ins and outs of how this works, but they go in, wake up in the dragon's lair, and immediately get confronted by the dragon. But this time Kazuhiro brought alcohol, because the town in particular that the dragon was trying to go to is kind of best known and boasted about for its alcohol. So that's what Kazuhiro brought this time, and he's able to talk to the dragon. It's like the benefit of being able to have these conversations. And obviously Marie doesn't know the dragon language, so like it's all like just like like him talking to that monster last episode. It's like it's all like it means nothing to her. She can't understand anything. So the dragon's taking an interest in it. He's like, I apologize. We just went to see your eggs. I brought my friend along, Marie. Like, I'm sorry about that. So, but the dragon's understand. She's like, all right, fine. If you want to offer me this alcohol, like, I'll kind of let you and your friend go. And then it's like, oh, she shows off the eggs. She's kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of getting bored waiting around for them to hatch. It's just kind of interesting to think about that character being a mom, because you wouldn't think the character is, but we're dealing fantastical elements where like, well, Marie's an elf, so she's older than she looks. And same thing about a dragon. It's like, who knows how old she is, because we actually don't even know her name. But yeah, like she could be like 1,000 years old or hundreds of years old type of situation. But either way, she smells the food that Kazuhiro has as well. It's like, all right, fine. She's like, for the alcohol, I'll give you one of my... No. It was one of the lunch boxes. She was like, I mean, being able to get the alcohol was just going to spare them. And then it's like, oh, because I have this lunch box, she is willing to give one of her scales. And she's like, not one of the ones that's falling off, that's losing magic, a new one at that too. Which in the moment Marie hears that, she's like, wait, what? She's going to do what? It's like, that's crazy, you know, like, because those are very expensive and they're worth a lot. Because they even said like, you could be extremely rich just from selling like a dragon scale. So she, the arcane dragon turns into her human form. I wasn't expecting that to be how it manifests. She basically throws up some goop and emerges from it as her dragon-esque human form, which I thought was so fascinating. Because I thought she herself would just turn into a full-blown human. But I guess it's almost like, maybe it's like a magical manifestation of her soul, because like the dragon body stays behind. I guess it's almost like a snake shedding its skin, because like the body kind of goes in a dormant state. So I guess it's almost like her soul is embodied in this like magic that took on the form of a human-esque form, because it's known as like a dragonkin. So it's like, it's not... I wonder if that, like, beyond just disguising as a human, I wonder, does that form serve any other purpose too? I don't know. Like in a more action-y sense, I could definitely see that being like a thing of, oh, it makes it, it feels like under different circumstances or a different series, you could look at it as like you're compressing all your magic into one powerful form. Like when you're in your massive dragon form, like your power's pretty powerful, but now when you're in your human form, you're condensing it down, and that might make it even more powerful, make you faster. Once again, if this was an action-y series, I could see this kind of being like one of those nerdy breakdowns. You know, you could get into the nitty-gritty of like the power scaling of what it means to like transform into a human versus being in a dragon form. That's me reading too much into it. But I love the whole bento box, the lunch box situation. She's like, no. I didn't like, want to take, I wasn't interested in eating food from someone inferior to, me, but whatever, I'll eat it. I'll take it. I'll get a taste. And then, eats it really quickly, but then kind of gets heartbroken when she chugged that down and the beer and it was all gone immediately. So Kazuhiro offers her another one, and she's like, "Fine, I'll pay for it as well," and gives him a stone that's basically blue because it got covered in her blood when she laid her eggs. And it's like, okay, apparently this thing could be sold for a lot of money, but it also can cure any illness. So it's like, well, what do we do with this? It's like, well, we can't tell anybody that we did this because that's going to bring a lot of attention to this place. I mean, you're also going to probably, on the not, they don't talk about it, but most likely people will try and rob you for it. But also, like, you'd be inviting a lot of people to try and track down this particular place and find that dragon. Because I think it was Kazuhiro that kind of says, like, oh, I think I understand why this town was kind of destroyed the way it was. It's most likely people found out about the dragon and they came in here trying to steal the eggs, and the dragon scared them out, and then like them and like, I don't know if he was kind of saying like they scared everyone to abandon this town because like the people who robbed it fled to the town and the dragon chased them into town and they had to flee even further, or whether she ended up killing them all. I think she ended up killing them all because Marie goes, yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a scary story if that ends up being the case, but that's why this whole place is her lair. It's kind of stayed that way, and they want to do her the due diligence of just keeping her situation quiet, but also like last thing you want is a dragon rampaging when people come here starting stuff and pissing her off. But obviously she has a very like quirky personality because she wants Kazuhiro to say, you guys can come back anytime, next time bring 3 lunch boxes. No, bring 4. I can't wait for your return. So next time Kazuhiro is going to need to make sure he packs a lot more food, because that's why he brings food from his world into this world, because he's like, yeah, the food here is kind of bland. And even Marie's kind of like, yeah, it kind of sucks, you kind of have to go back to it. But I think Kazuhiro tries to look at it from the perspective of, well, it's kind of nice every once in a while, I guess. But his biggest concern was like, right, I'm going to go to an inn and I'm going to go to sleep and go back to Japan. Because he keeps saying like, oh, this will be the last time me and Marie get to see each other. Because I guess her joining the guild will take up so much of her time so that, or maybe it's going to be so far away that it's, it's him, maybe because he's not part of the guild, they wouldn't be able to interact, because he makes it seem like they'd have to say goodbye forever. So I'm curious like what the whole stipulation for that is, because that was kind of a concern he had before they came back. I haven't thought this is interesting because he even let slip this thing. I don't think he read too much into it. I don't think he realized what he said when they were talking about like, oh, we can't tell anyone about this dragon situation, but we'll figure out what to do about it later. And we could tell this story to our children. And she blushes a little because it's like, well, he probably meant that in general of like our children. It's like, oh, like whenever either one of us has children in the future, not necessarily we'd have children together, but she interpreted it like, oh, but they kind of moved past that without really diving into it. So. But Marie says that she is ready to go back to Japan too, so she's like fine with sleeping anywhere. So I wonder, has she completely given up on the guild or what that means? I mean, now you can kind of come and go wherever you want to. Does beg the question though, once again, we'll have to wait to see where the next episode takes us with this, whether or not now that Marie's been to that other world, every time she goes to sleep, can she automatically end up back in Japan, or does she have to be with Kazuhiro, or does he automatically drag her through? Because it is interesting, it kind of gives me like Kingdom Hearts vibes, like when he drifts into that sleep realm. I mean, it's very much like, what's that called, the land of waking, all the dream sequence stuff where you're on those circular like column platforms in the Kingdom Hearts series. Like it's called something like the land, not the land of waking, but it's something like that. It kind of reminds me of that because he's going through water and it's like bubbly and stuff. So I guess that's almost like that transition. I'm curious what that is. But yeah, like now that they've kind of broken the seal, like can she come and go like that, or is it a situation of no, she has to be with Kazuhiro? We'll have to wait to see, kind of as we explore that a little bit more. But once again, continuing to be an adorable series. Really cute. I'm excited to continue the series and see where things takes us going forward from here. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.